But what are we talking about? Because like we can like discredit this guy all we want, but the other guy is saying Atlantis is real.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like what do we?
Lore Boys here. The internet's #1 fake history podcast is back with more of what you need. My name is Peter O'Donohue, and I belong in a museum. Joining me on my expedition to the far exotic Orient are
Lore boy here, Ethan. I'm always running away from balls.
Mr. O'Donohue, I didn't look at the wiki, I swear.
Oh, you better not have. You better not have cheated on this exam.
I explicitly did look at the wiki because I was the first one thinking about potentially doing this. So I did do a bit of reading about young India 2 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
In the third movie, you get to see him as a boy because that's when you meet his dad, Sean Connery. Sean
Connery, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll get into his family a little bit here.
Indy's the dog.
It is, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the dog briefly. So today's episode about Indiana Jones was requested by patrons Nova TW Tiger, Vladdy Daddy, Doug, Commodore Turtle, Fragile Shark, Magnus, and Chaz, with backup from One Robin Thing, as well as you just heard, all of us, because we were going to cover this back in December, basically, just when the new game just came out.
Yeah, it got requested a couple times a while ago, and then it was so funny because I knew we were recording it. We were supposed to potentially record it yesterday, ended up recording it today, and then like 7 people yesterday like asked for it again. So
which was so convenient.
Animals.
Yeah. So Jamie and I played the new game by Machine Games recently, and it absolutely kicks ass. And you, the listener, should stop and play it right now with whatever you're doing.
Yeah, dumbass. Go play it.
What are you doing? Listen to this fucking podcast.
Fucking idiot.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
I'm going to gift it to somebody who's listening, and you're going to know who it is because you have it in your Steam inventory.
Maybe you got it by now. Whoa.
Yeah, everybody check your Steam inventory.
No,
Stop what you're doing.
Oprah Winfrey bought everybody in the world Indiana Jones in the Great Circle.
$40 million of Patreon money. But if you want to request anything, join our Discord. That's the quickest way to do it at the link down below. Or you can join the Patreon, link down below. And also, one last plug. We have a survey running right now about the audience. If you want to fill it out, it would be great. We're getting a lot of great feedback. Please and thank you. Do you guys want to add anything about Indianapolis Jones before we get into the swing of things?
I've seen all 3 movies. That's about the extent that I know them. Jamie at some point came out with the great character Incel Deanna Jones.
Yes, where he goes, I hate snakes and women.
Yeah. Yeah. Bravo. That's about as far as we've gotten that bit, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure we'll hear from him again later tonight.
Well, because Indy hates snakes, his dad hates rats, which I do too. And then, I've seen all 3 movies and
the
played
woman in
that
Temple
game.
of Doom hates bugs.
Girl hates bugs.
I think
it's great in the.
One. I think I've seen the Crystal Skull.
I fell asleep at the movie theater watching the 4th one, and then I heard.
Yeah, I don't remember.
The 5th one is good. I don't know.
I doubt it. I don't know. It's a Disney sequel that came out 40 years later. I doubt it's good, frankly. But
it's better than the 4th, I think. Yeah.
I think I've seen parts of the 5th one. Is it the 5th one where a guy gets eaten alive by ants?
That sounds cool. Maybe that's the Mummy.
I watched Ant-Man last night. That didn't even happen.
There's like a standoff with Nazis in Nazi eaten by ants. Incel Indiana Jones.
Anyway, well, you pull up that clip. Henry Walton Jones Jr., our hero's government name, was born on July 1st, 1899 in Princeton, New Jersey to Henry Jones Sr. and Anna Mary Jones. Henry Jones Sr. was an Oxford graduate, and Anna Mary was the daughter of a wealthy Southern family from the 19th century Virginia, which is a red flag, and the two met in the 1890s and were married in 1898.
Well, Sean Connery was throwing hands at her too, because he has that whole quote where he's like talking to that girl from The View. Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, you gotta." What did he say?
Barbara Walters was a journalist before The View, for the record. That girl from The View.
Yeah, He said something about you have to hit your women every once in a while or
He says
something.
like 5 across the eyes or something.
Oh my
It's
god.
a sadly very memorable quote.
Yeah.
So after being married in 1898, a year later, Henry Jr. was born at some point. And and at some point after that, his sister Susie was born. Susie fell
Oh.
ill and died off screen somewhere in a hospice facility for extended universe characters.
Here's Incel Deanna Jones's dad. You have to hit women and snakes. What's that?
And rats.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
more
true.
mileage than I thought we'd get out of this. This is good. His mother, Anna Mary, unfortunately also passed away in 1912 after contracting scarlet fever, leaving behind just the boys on the subject of Incel Deanna Jones.
Hell yeah.
I looked up scarlet fever just to see if there was anything. I was just kind of curious about it. And I had the time. I was like, looked into this. There is the way they test for it to see if somebody is susceptible to scarlet fever is called the dick test. So you can do a dick test to check for scarlet fever, named after the married doctor's dick. It was just their last name, but I thought that was very funny.
That is funny. It was Crystal Skull, where a guy gets eaten by ants. Antonin Dovchenko, the villain.
It's the communist, because that one's in the 50s.
He's a Russian, yeah.
Oh, he's a communist. He had the scarlet fever.
Yeah.
I just want to
communists. They love working together.
I just want to call out. I found this on the fandom page. Shout out to the indie fandom for not putting appears in, like it doesn't say the movie. I had to piece it together by the line during their quest to harness the psychic powers of the Crystal Skull of Akator. So maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. And then the first quote from this guy listed on the page, maybe the only quote. I haven't scrolled down all the way down, but the only quote that I've seen so far is "You recognize building, yes." That's the whole quote. That's the only quote they attribute to him, because on the fandom wiki, oftentimes at the top of sections they'll put quotes from people that are referencing something, and that's the only one we get from this guy. So,
oh my god,
I'll send you guys a picture of him being eaten.
He's probably a disposable commie soldier anyway in that movie, right?
He wasn't like the main villain, if I recall correctly, but he was like the main henchman. I think, Like
Yeah.
It was a woman was the main villain in that one.
Yeah, it was like Kate Blanchett or something. Yeah, it's a movie I haven't seen. I've seen a bunch of trailers for it. Anyway, throughout his teenage years, Henry Jr. participated in various historical events, such as the Mexican Revolution and World War I, all the while adopting various aliases, such as Henri Defense, Amadeus Schubelgruber, Father. Yeah, it's a great one. Father Gallagher, which is from The Great Circle, and one just Hank. Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah. He eventually settled on Indiana Jones, or Indy, after his beloved dog, Indiana. And there was a photo of a cute little puppy being gifted to him by his parents. Some woman and a guy playing young Sean Connery. You guys want to check there.
It's a cute puppy.
It is very cute. Very fluffy. So while Indy went on several adventures prior to the one we'll be discussing, I wanted to cover the adventure he went on in the 1992 adventure game, The Fate of Atlantis. So, like we said, we were going to cover Indiana Jones earlier or late in 2024, but there's like 250,000 things that he's done.
There's so much on him. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. He's like more prolific than the Hardy Boys, in where he is somehow singularly involved in every single thing that happened between 1899 and whenever the 5th movie is set.
He's just a hanky boy.
He is, yeah. Amadeus Schubelgruber just be getting into things, really. Right. So I really wanted to cover Indiana Jones and his desktop adventures, but I only had a day to prepare, and there were simply too many desktop adventures to be had. That is another
I didn't
game.
play that one then. I played the platformer that was on NES, I think, or on Super Nintendo. But that one was cool. You got a little whip and you got to do little platforms and run across things.
Yeah, so the Fate of Atlantis that we're going to be talking about today is a very like Monkey Island classic PC adventure point and click game. So if you've played Beneath the Steel Sky or I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, which are like two that I've played, or again Monkey Island. Well, it's not first person like Myst, but it's the same genre. You click and see him walk around and point and click. Yeah. So I don't think we've ever gotten into it, but I want to talk a little bit about Atlantis itself. basically, because they do use a lot of. And another cool thing is, like, especially with the Great Circle, they do take a bunch of like Joe Rogan-ass dumb pseudoscience
I
and
knew
then
you
just
were gonna
make it
bring up.
real in the coolest way, right?
I knew you were gonna say Graham Hancock at some point here because he's the guy
I
who thinks Atlantis is real, right?
I am going to talk about Graham
Yeah,
Hancock shortly, actually. So,
yeah,
He's the
um,
leading expert on this made up bullshit, right?
yeah,
So
yep.
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a leading expert on a thing he invented, basically.
Flint Dibble, people have really come after him lately. He's like when Flint Dibble and Graham Hancock had their talk, and people were Team Dibble, but now apparently Dibble was lying about a lot of the stuff.
I
So
am still Team Dibble because, again, I follow. I don't want to get into this because that used to be like it's the only episode of Joe Rogan I've ever recommended to anybody because Flint Dibble can read, meaning it is entirely possible to learn something from this episode. But like, I think he made a mistake or something about shipwrecks. So now every time he has some new kook on, they're just like, "Boy, that Flint Dibble guy's a fucking idiot, isn't he?" But like,
Yeah.
I watch Flint Dibble and like Mini Minuteman, like educated men who talk about this shit, and he's just like, "Well, yeah, I made this mistake, and I'm sorry, but like, here's some other shit that disproves Atlantis," and it's just like, it never penetrates Joe Rogan's blood-brain barrier because its
yeah.
skull bones are like 4.5 inches thick, right? Like,
Well, from what I've heard, admittedly, a lot of them are through the Joe Rogan podcast, but I've listened to a lot of those archaeologists that go through, and it seems like there's factions within archaeology that people like when you get trying to get something peer reviewed, if it's not what the other faction believes, they'll just completely shoot it down and say it's false. So like there's a lot of argument within archaeology. So like Indiana Jones wouldn't only need to go to other countries and fight things. He would have to fight for his research at a table at a university as well.
But
yeah,
what are
like
we?
4.5
But what are we
hours of the
talking
Great
about?
Circle is about getting a paper peer reviewed, and it's the best part of the game. Dude.
Yeah.
But what are we talking about? Because like we can like discredit this guy all we want, but the other guy is saying Atlantis is real.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like what are you talking about? Like I don't know.
He made a
Like,
mistake about shipwrecks again. Like, I'm sure academia can be clicky. I was gonna say I don't want to get into this, but like I gotta stand up for my boy Dibble. All right,
Yeah.
I'm a Dibble stan, 100%.
and hey, speaking of everything we've been speaking about, he gives incel vibes. I would be very unsurprised to find out he pestered some woman. Like tweets will surface about this man because clearly I have not watched that interview. I haven't seen
No.
much of this guy, but like I've seen him talk, and I think the first time I saw him was him
He Flint Dibbled
explaining.
someone outside of a bar.
Yeah.
I think the first interaction I had, or the first exposure I had to Flint Dibble, was he did a video on something he had gotten wrong on Joe Rogan and why that didn't make Graham Hancock right. Obviously, because that's not how being right and wrong works. But
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's like he made a dating mistake. He misinterpreted the dates of like some dissolving shipwrecks. Again, not evidence of Atlantis. Regardless.
exactly.
As you can hear, I did write it in here, just like in the UFO episode. I don't want to poo-poo anybody's party. I don't fucking believe in Atlantis. In the same way, I don't believe in UFOs.
But
Belief in these things is completely harmless. However,
It's fun. Yeah.
It is fun.
and
Making
I did
Graham
write in
Hancock just
here.
have fun. Huh?
Yeah, and I did do a little call to action here for the people at home. If you guys want me to cover like Fingerprints of the Gods or any of Graham Hancock's quackery, I love quackery, dude. I will fucking do it. Okay.
Call to action, patrons. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I
We'll
love
turn it into a Christmas episode. No one will know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
It'll be
yeah.
a Santa. We're talking about archaeology, and we're all cops. No
I
one's gonna
love,
know what the fuck.
I love the fact that newer fans were like, "What the fuck is going
Newer
on?"
fans,
And-
Turtle. Like,
I mean, it's
Jesus.
been 2 years, right?
We're out
And then
for
we got
5
backup
years.
from like longtime patron Fragile Shark. He's like, "You're clearly not. You clearly haven't been following the 4-year police serial that they've been doing." Anyway.
with a 3-year hiatus in there, I think so.
Yeah,
Two.
I think
I missed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in retrospect, we probably could have done a better job leading them into this, but it is a good Easter egg, I guess, for the people who've been listening a long time.
and we discussed it off screen.
Yeah.
It's for the super fans, and I love writing it. So every once in a
Yep.
while, it's a little sabbatical.
Okay,
Anyway,
Indiana Jones.
Atlantis.
Indy.
Atlantis. Back on track here. Atlantis was openly made up by Plato in like the 4th century BC. So like the guy who invented it was just like, this is not real. Atlantis was used as an allegory for the hubris of nations, which is funny to me considering the two nations that are often associated with like Atlantis obsessions are Nazi Germany and the United States. So, you know, the Nazis got a little too big for their very expensive Hugo Boss britches and TikTok, USA. Like, we'll see what happens here. So in the allegory, Atlantis attempts to conquer Athens, or like an ancient version of Athens that Plato was talking about here. Atlantis fell out of favor with the gods. Don't fuck with one of the cities named after one of the primary gods.
Mhm.
And then it was sunk into the Atlantic and destroyed. Now just a mere memory, driving people who cannot read and do not understand archaeology completely insane. But serving as inspiration for really good and for a really good and underrated Disney movie from 20 years ago. I fucking love the Atlantis movie.
I think I saw it once as a child. I just remember, hey, I made a bridge. The punchline for when the guy blows up the like impossibly precious ancient pillar covered in like these beautiful glyphs, and there's a demo.
I
Yes.
remember them playing sideways basketball at the beginning.
That is Road to El Dorado, I think.
That's you're thinking of Blitzball from Final Fantasy X.
True.
Mhm.
All of those. I think it was El Dorado, though. Wait, El Dorado is the city of gold, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's not
Atlantis is the
Atlantis?
city of water.
No, I thought it was the
Eldorado's
city
El
of
Dorado.
gold under the.
It'd be
I
called El
thought-
Agua.
You mean it-
I thought they were the same thing.
You're in Las Vegas. You can't speak Spanish yet? Senor.
Yeah, Vegas
Look at
means
this
angel.
fucking gringo mixing up his ancient cities.
Yeah, I don't know the origin of El Dorado, but I'm gonna guess it's like Cortez and his cronies because I believe it's a South American thing.
It is, yeah.
It's when they came to South America. South America was so rich in gold, and that's why the Spaniards came here or came there, I guess. That I'm sure there was just like this myth of like there's a city that's pure gold because like everybody had gold. It wasn't even really like a currency, I think, in South America at the time because it was not so valuable
It's
because it was
just
so common.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, in Plato's story of Atlantis, though, it was rich in gold as well. I'm pretty sure. Like,
Probably.
I thought that it was also like a gold city under the sea.
I don't think
It
so.
was
He just
like
told us what it is. It was a regular city that the Athenians sunk into the sea.
Well, now it's real. Now you know what happened there.
Pete just told us that. Where have you
I
been?
made it up 3,000
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah. He was playing with his Play-Doh and
Yeah.
he made a city. It's a city made of Play-Doh. You're not even listening, dude. God.
So, what Indy regards now as his first real job he was a dig supervisor on an Icelandic expedition called the Jastro expedition or Yastro. Don't know. Never heard it spoken out loud. Back
Right.
in 1929.
That's Spanish for stomach sick. Yeah,
Pastro. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I've got the yastro.
You've got
So this is-
gastroenteritis.
This is Indiana Jones's first job, right? Because we just jumped from Atlanta, so
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly talk about like
No, that's fine.
Atlantis was fucking made up by the first guy who would ever talk about Atlantis was like, it's fake.
yeah.
Like, so that's basically it. Indy's first, what he regards as his first real job, was in 1929 on the Yastro expedition to Iceland, and this was sponsored by Barnett College. I looked it up.
Okay.
Barnett College, not real. It's Indy
Okay.
canon only.
He's just like Indy's freezing cold waters. Am I right?
He's a dig supervisor. So, this is a
Indy's
fictional
freezing cold
expedition.
grounds, huh?
Good one. That was a good
This
one.
is a fictional expedition led by the fictional Dr. Yastro, and is like not even a fantastical take on a real expedition. Sadly, it's not alt history; it's just made up. Indy was assigned an assistant named Sophia Hapgood, whom he shared lodging with, but their relationship remained platonic. Ha ha ha.
Okay.
And Sophia later became disillusioned with the lack of career opportunities for women in the field of archaeology at the time, so she retired and became a psychic. Which
Okay.
is just like the women be selling crystals on Etsy of the 20s, basically.
Yeah. Sophia Hapgood conscientious objections to the field of archaeology in the early 20th century. Huh?
Yeah, there you go.
I like. You should do that for every sentence. I think you can find one in every sentence. Yeah.
Hey, you keep setting them up. I'm gonna keep knocking them down.
Knocking
all
them
right?
down. So recovered during the Icelandic expedition were multiple orichalcum beads, a necklace which Sophia kept, and what was originally assumed to be a horned idol.
Are you looking at what orichalcum is? I could tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
It's
It's the-
I know it's alloy, and it's debated what it is. They think it's probably some type of ancient brass, but it could be copper and silver. That's what I learned that on the Joe Rogan podcast from the last archaeologist I listened to, who was against Flint Dibble, by the way. Not
Yeah, the
guy.
guy with the beard that was
Yeah.
on like last week. Yeah, I stopped when they started bitching about Flint Dibble. I was like, what the fuck? Just talk about your kooky shit.
Yeah, he's like, don't talk about Dibble. He's my man. Yeah.
Just tell me how the Baghdad battery is a solar panel or some shit, dude. Don't fucking bitch about this man who's not here.
Yeah, I knew it from Elder Scrolls, right? And I was just like, how do I know that? And I was like, from Elder Scrolls. But yes, Jamie was right.
Jamie hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, I had a little aside about orichalcum, but thank you, sir, to pick that one up. Yeah. So anyway, the horned idol, or what was assumed to be a horned idol, was another thing that was found there. Everything had been dated to about 1500 BC, and these relics were found to be almost certainly Atlantean. This was actual hard evidence of the existence of Atlantis. I don't know the link between Iceland and Atlantis, because that's also where they go in the movie Atlantis that we talked about, the Disney movie. That's where the entrance is. Anyway, that's where they also find these relics, and there are photos for you guys to look up. In one of my favorite like art styles is 90s adventure game pixel art. I love the SpongeBob close-ups that they have of like important shit in these old games.
Yeah, it looks so good.
Yeah. So a decade later, in 1939, after the events of the original film trilogy and also The Great Circle, the latest video game, Indy is approached by the trustworthy and cool Mr. Smith, pictured here. He would be the guy here with the, the square mustache and the suspicious outfit.
Yeah, okay, so this is not Mr. Smith, but Hair Smith, right?
It's Mr. Smith as far as we know.
Okay, well, he's dressed like a Nazi, so.
Yeah, of course.
I love the scene in Indiana Jones. I don't remember which one it is, where he throws a Nazi out the window of a plane that's still on the tarmac because he doesn't have a ticket or something. Did you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark? It didn't happen in that one, right?
No, it's got to be in the third one. In that case.
Okay, yeah, I love it. He just tosses a Nazi right out the window onto the tarmac. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's not because he didn't have a ticket. The excuse he gives the other people I think it's a blimp. I think they're about to take a
they're on a Zeppelin.
They're on a dirigible, and there's all these like high class people who are just looking, and he gives the excuse of like,
he didn't have
a ticket.
Okay, that's it. Yeah. I love how he calls people pal. I've been calling my girlfriend pal a whole lot since playing that game. Out of the way, pal.
All his little quips. Every time he like chokes out one of the most evil men alive with a whip, and he's like, "Sleep tight, pal." It's just like so goofy. Game's fucking 9 out of 10, man. It's so good.
Yeah, it's fun.
So Mr. Smith, and I put this in here because it was driving me fucking insane. Mr. Smith, which Google Docs kept auto-correcting to Mr. Smooth. So that's his fucking name now.
He's cool. I don't know. I like this guy now.
I don't know. So Mr. Smooth wanted Indy and his hetero life partner, Marcus Brody, who is in the video game, to retrieve the horned idol from the collection at Bartnet College for him to study. Once presented with the idol, Mr. Smooth held the men at gunpoint and revealed himself to be an SS agent named Klaus Kerner. Ethan saw through his disguise way before I did, personally.
Wow. That's a good eye.
Something suspicious about him, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if it was the brass eagle on his like policeman's hat that he just walked into the college with.
His orichalcum eagle.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I am a cool kid too, yeah?
Yeah.
I need you to go get this for my friend.
Yeah. Herr Jones, it is me, Mr. Smooth. It is so nice of you to have welcomed me into your school. I have many questions about your horned idol. So, Kerner.
Horny idol too.
Sorry?
I got questions about a horny idol too.
Hell yeah, maybe.
Subscribe
to Patreon to get that. So Kerner and another Nazi doctor named Hans Ubermann, who did not waste disguising himself as one of the fellow American pigs, were headed on a second expedition back to Iceland to retrieve orichalcum to power the Nazi war machine. It was discovered that orichalcum was a power source that the Atlanteans used to allegedly create their advanced cities and pyramids and also become godlike in some capacity. The Nazis hoped that they could use it to also become gods and take over the world in a much easier fashion. The horned idol, as it turns out, was actually like an Atlantean drill bit that, when with the power of orichalcum, would allow Hitler's forces to like craft and build mythic structures, and also this drill bit could drill through basically anything. I have not played this game. I didn't watch any gameplay. I'd read that like he puts like Dr. Uberman puts like an orichalcum bead into the drill bit and just like sets it off, and it just like drills straight through a stone wall and disappears. Is like how powerful
Wow.
this thing is.
You could
Yeah.
drill right into a mountain and find a bunch of people saying Kali Ma or something.
Yeah, it just
Might happen.
falls through the wall.
Yeah.
You know, when I was young, I didn't like Temple of Doom. I was a big fan of 1 and 3, but 2
Okay.
was the weak one. Yeah.
I think it still is. Honestly, I
They
don't think.
have it.
I think it's probably pretty widely considered the weakest of the three.
Is the
Uh,
2 the one with the Holy Grail?
no,
Third one.
that's three.
That's
That's
3.
with
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
then 2 is weak. Yeah, never mind, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking mid, dude.
Well, not as weak as 4, but 1, 2, 3 are a fine watch if you want to watch all 3 of them. But
Yeah, the fourth one where all we remember is a guy gets eaten by ants.
Yeah. Nor 5, right? There's a 5th one now. So
we don't even know enough about it because the 4th one lost us so much that
Yeah.
we don't have a real.
no,
Yeah.
but I'm confident saying it's also bad.
Someone
Guaranteed.
told me that it's slightly better than the 4th, and that's
Oh,
a
sure, yeah, sure.
person, so that I have no idea.
Hey, it's better than getting eaten alive by ants, you know?
Yeah. Hey, comrade. That's our review out of 10. So after being robbed by Kerner, Indy set off to find Sophia, since he knew she'd taken the necklace that was found during the Yastor expedition, and was worried that the SS would find and kill her for it.
So
He found her.
Sophia find a necklace. Oh, I can't do it like Ethan. Ethan's a lot better than me at those.
You want to try one, Ethan? Got one? Going in the chamber?
No.
Okay. Good.
Sophia, find a man who's going to tell you a joke, huh?
He actually found her giving a seminar in New York about her psychic communications with the Atlantean god Nur-Ab-Sal. The two find that Sophia's apartment had been ransacked by the SS. However, since she'd had the necklace with her while giving the seminar, they didn't manage to get their clammy hands onto it. It seemed that Sophia knew more about Atlantis than anyone at this time, men included. Crazy. And she knew that the key to finding Atlantis was the Hermocrates, Plato's lost third dialogue. And we will get more into this after the break. Welcome back from the break, everybody. So, this is a little step into the real history that the writers of The Fate of Atlantis used here. So, Plato's first 2 dialogues, where the original allegory of Atlantis was named, were called Timaeus and Critias. While Critias is known to be a real man who lived from 460 BC to 403 BC, Timaeus is, as far as we know, made up. So there's just a bunch of fake shit in this thing. So that's why.
Made up.
Yeah, exactly. So the ending of Critias's dialogue is unfinished, just like lost to history, basically. However, people assume a third must have been written and maybe be lost, since the character of Hermocrates doesn't play a huge role in the first 2 dialogues, but is hinted at having. There's basically like, Jamie, you've been basically mainlining all the Marvel films. There's basically like an after credits teaser in one of the dialogue. So scholars interpret the following line.
Yeah, I think Plato is actually in every one of his dialogues. You can catch him somewhere at the end, and there's 2 extra stories right at the end if you look close enough.
Yeah, and he's always wearing a red and white shirt with a little like red and white nightcap. You just got to spot him.
Yeah.
Where's Plato?
The little striped shirt. Certainly, Critias, we will grant you your request to speak, and we will grant the same by anticipation to Hermocrates, and as well to you, Timaeus. Basically, they were just like, well, he tells that these guys are gonna get their chance to talk, and we don't have a dialogue written by Plato with Hermocrates. Though, obviously, this is, again, a lot of Graham Hancock's theories are based on the absence of evidence, just being like, evidence that you just haven't found it yet. It's kind of always been like this. There is no proof that the third dialogue of Hermocrates was ever fucking written, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just people just interpret this line as just like, well, why would he write this if he wasn't gonna write a third dialogue? That would be crazy, right?
And also,
Like,
like maybe he was gonna. Who knows? You don't know what he had going on. Like maybe he had a lot on his plate. Okay,
yeah,
leave
exactly.
leave Plato alone.
He's a busy guy, I think.
He's making noodles by pressing Play-Doh in through that thing,
Uh-huh.
making spaghettis.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
He's
Making
separating all the colors after kids press them all together into one big ball so you can put
being
them
a
back
barber
together.
for some kind of like little plastic head with
Mhm,
goofy hair.
Yeah, he's
mhm.
imprisoning people in caves and only showing them shadow plays. Got a lot going
Just
on.
like Play-Doh puppets, like a bunch of lumpy puppet shadows.
I am your world. You
Yeah.
couldn't even comprehend the real world.
I can't comprehend this. What are those lumps supposed to be?
Yeah.
There's like an after credit teaser in the shadow play in the cave, basically, just like hinting at some new thing he's gonna like show to these people who've never seen anything.
Yeah. Thanos
So yeah,
turns
like
his head and looks at you, but he's just a shadow. You don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah.
so obviously we made it abundantly clear. In my skeptical and based opinion, maybe it existed, doesn't matter. It doesn't tell you where Atlantis is. But in the Fate of Atlantis, it absolutely does. So who tells Indy and Sophia where to find Hippocrates? The Hippocrates dialogue differs between the game and the comic adaptation. However, the like script's canon location, like they kind of merge the two and just like, all right, they choose the same place, is the Dunlop collection back at Barnet College. It reveals that to gain entrance to Atlantis, one must first collect 3 stone discs: the Sunstone, the Moonstone, and the World Stone. There's multiple copies of these discs, which is very helpful, but obviously it's been millennia, so it's still hard to find them. So prior to the arrival of Indiana and Sophia, another Atlantis researcher named Charles Sternhardt, and despite the name, is not a Nazi.
Soft.
He is.
Mhm.
He was already in the process of gathering the stones, having already translated a copy of the Hippocrates. So it is theorized, at least in the canon of Indiana Jones, there's like a surviving manuscript, but it's just a translation. So the original ancient Greek Hippocrates is long lost and destroyed, whereas there is an Arabic translation that we can obviously still read because people still speak Arabic. So he was
True.
translating the Arabic copy into English to figure out he'd figured out that you need the stones to enter Atlantis.
So, in Arabic, Atlantis is pronounced El Dorado.
Oh,
There we
Mhm.
go.
that's why I
Yeah.
mixed them up.
Oh, yeah, because 'cause you're fluent in Arabic, of course.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's why you're going to Las Vegas. That's why you've been learning Arabic, is to go to Las
Yeah.
Vegas.
That's why that's why your passport has a pride flag on it now, right?
Yeah.
I
Like all
just got my
Canadian passports.
I got my passport today. I was showing it to them on the break, and there is a little rainbow in there. It's kind of cute. And
Hmm.
me without my glasses and hat, looking old as hell, just staring ahead.
That's true. I was like, what's different about him? It's because I don't know what your hair looks like right now because you don't have a mullet anymore. So you really could
No,
be doing anything under there.
yeah, it's kind of long. I need to cut it before my trip, honestly.
Yeah, I was thinking about mine too.
Yeah.
Where was I? Right. So the 3 managed to locate the World Stone in a temple in the Mayan temple. Excuse me, in a temple in the Mayan city of Tikal. However, Sternhardt stole the World Stone for himself and fled to the Minotaur's labyrinth on Crete. So just like kind of at the beginning of the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the beginning of the Great Circle, as well as like there's a side quest you can do. Indiana Jones gets betrayed by other people doing evil science pretty frequently. It's
Yeah.
one of his
Yeah.
many flaws is trusting other archaeologists, which, as we've established, are cliquey liars
Mhm.
who don't want to peer review your shit about Atlantis because they're mean.
You can't
Yeah.
trust an archaeologist as far as you can flint dibble them.
Yeah. One of Indy's famous lines is that belongs in a museum, right? And he has to say that so often because there's so often evil people trying to take artifacts and do whatever
Yeah.
with them. So
It,
Yeah,
sound,
exactly.
it sounds like your trust belongs in a museum because it should be ancient history at this point.
Yeah,
Okay.
fool me once.
Like, all of
Um,
British museums are just, like, other countries' cool shit, isn't it? Like,
Famous.
and then
Yeah.
and then
yeah,
other countries are like, "Give us back our shit," and they're like, "That belongs in a museum."
yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
That
well
belongs in a museum in another country, curated by me.
Yeah, that's it.
I can sell tickets to it.
It's
There's a
I
couple
mean,
of jokes about that in the Great Circle. A couple of people like tease Indiana Jones about just being like, "Wait, we could just like leave these relics to these people here." He's like, "Well, I don't know about that. Like, that's a little much for me here in 1934 or whatever that fucking
well,
game is set."
that's why the Nazis gotta be there, though, because there's, like, a greater evil than a British person in a museum, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. The one thing worse than a British person who curates a museum, the Nazi war machine.
yeah,
Yeah,
and they're close. They're close.
yeah.
Oh. So Indy and Sophia managed to sort of catch up to Sternhart. However, he left, I guess, his golden string behind and had trapped himself in the Minotaur's labyrinth and starved to death. So you
Okay.
just retrieve the World Stone like off of his skeleton, basically.
Hell yeah.
So pour one out for Sternhart. Following this, the two were attacked by Klaus Kerner and Hans Ubermann, who had just arrived at Crete via Nazi U-boat. Sophia was captured and taken aboard, but Indy managed to sneak his way in disguised as a member of the U-boat's crew. And it's funny, when I was playing the game, because I hadn't watched the movies in a while, there's like a unique disguise for every single location. And I was like, what? I don't fucking remember any of this at all. But then I needed more Indiana Jones in my life when I beat the game.
He
Like
was jonesing.
I was jonesing hard, dude. A
Mhm.
third of the first movie is him like disguised in like he's got like the little turban and like the linen, like the whatever, like the linen shirt that's like super long. I was like, no, honestly,
Yeah.
he's barely in his iconic outfit. He's
Yeah,
always
Isn't
in
he
a
wearing
disguise.
he's
he
wearing
does
a
what he needs.
a turban when he's in the market and he shoots that guy in the chest who tries to fight him with a sword. The
Mhm.
guy does like all the crazy sword moves and he just shoots him.
I think he's handsome and like has his shirt unbuttoned in that scene.
Oh, is that
But yes,
right? Okay.
he does just shoot that guy.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. You should rewatch it. It's fucking when you're done Marvel, a little aperitif after that, cleanse the palate before you watch Transformers, which is my
Yeah.
suggestion of other bad movies you should finally get into.
I mean,
Um,
you've been talking about the upcoming Jurassic Park or Jurassic World film recently, and I was just thinking the other. I think someday this week I'm gonna watch the first Jurassic Park because it's
Yeah.
probably been 15 years since I've seen it. I was like, oh,
I
that should be a
did
good one.
2 months ago, we will rewatch the first one, and it's
Mhm,
still so good, and you forget how many scenes are just so iconic. Like, every
mhm,
scene comes on, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, it's that one. Oh, yeah, it's
mhm.
that," and the way that he
yeah,
life, finds a way.
finds a way.
There's it's
Hold
so
on to your
good.
butts.
Yep.
Yeah, I always forget Sam Jackson is
Sam
fucking
Jackson's in
a
it with
minor
hair,
character in this
with
movie.
hair, with hair.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. So the Nazis had managed to discover the underwater entrance to Atlantis. Like it's on the seabed below Crete. I don't know what Iceland has to do with any of this. Basically, I don't know what part of the legend of Atlantis within the dialogues talks about Iceland. No fucking way Plato knew Iceland was there. 0%. But
Yeah.
anyway,
If you rearrange the letters in Atlantis, it spells Iceland.
you're right. Oh, never mind. That's probably it.
Well,
Mm.
you know how we've always learned that Greenland actually has the ice and then Iceland has the green? Well, Iceland actually doesn't even have any land, it's just underwater. It's kind of confusing, yeah.
Oh, it's all
Mm.
that's crazy. Eric the Red marketing there to try and like, swindle people, basically. So yeah, they managed to discover the entrance at the seabed below Crete. Following this, Indy discovered that while Sophia was not a psychic, like it's always like Indiana Jones is so fucking skeptical, despite the fact he has like seen Crusader ghosts melt people alive. And every time someone is just like, yeah, we found a magical object, he's like, I don't, that's bullshit. It's like, first after 3, you're just like, there's no way there's 4 magical items on Earth. Like, that's insane.
I don't believe in that magic stuff. Didn't you watch some Nazis get their faces melted off by a box?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't your father drink from Christ's holy grail?
Yeah. You watch a bunch of shirtless guys pull someone's heart out of their chest with their bare hands. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Anyway, skeptical as ever. He was just like, there's no way Sophia's a psychic. She's probably just hysterical. But in reality, the like essence or the soul of the Atlantean god Nurab Sol was within the necklace. So he had been talking to her this whole time, letting her masquerade as a psychic, but also he was telling her stuff about Atlantis in hopes of leading her back to it so that he could basically reconstitute and reclaim the Atlantean kingdom.
And I mean, really, in the eyes of society, what's the difference between a true psychic and a woman for whom the ancient god Narab Sol is whispering visions to, right?
Nothing. Yeah.
Functionally
Uh,
the same.
I remember I used to quote Indiana Jones a lot in high school, and there was a scientist quote that I was trying to remember in relation to you, like saying that he's like shocked every time there's a new magic item. He has a quote that he says to a girl, "Nothing shocks me. I'm a scientist." Literally everything shocks you, man, or you're in disbelief of everything. But anyway,
The quote that I always use when I am just claiming innocence or claiming ignorance of something is, "I know touch nothing, Dr. Jones." So I think
Yeah.
that quote's probably better.
short round, very good.
Yeah. Did he win an Oscar?
Yeah,
For that role?
Yeah.
everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
won the Oscar
Yeah.
for it.
No, for for being short round, he actually
being short
won.
round.
For
Yeah,
using a
exactly.
very heavy Chinese accent and jumping down awnings into a car and leaning against bricks.
I mean,
And
I think to be fair, that was just his accent. Like, you know what I mean?
but
When you say
was
using a
it?
very heavy Chinese accent,
He
I'm
still
sure
has an
it's
accent in
Chinese.
his like 50s. Yeah.
Oh, does he? I
Yeah.
saw it as like it's 80s Hollywood. Let's get him to ham it up a little bit.
Wouldn't be
We need a
surprised.
little more. I don't know what you say, like a little.
Gotta put
Yeah.
a little rice on it. Hey, yeah.
Little-
What are we doing
yeah.
here?
I don't know. This kid's not doing it for me. Get Mickey Rooney.
Get Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Atlantis, like Dante's Hell, is made up of concentric circles. It's made of a bunch of rings. And at the
course.
center is a chamber filled with lava, stone bridges, and something known as either the Colossus or the God Machine. So it is, I put up like a lot of the box art. It's a thing that's like got like dumping out lava around it. And again, there's very good 90s pixel art where you can see the machine itself.
Oh, yeah, I love that pixel
Finally,
art.
the God Machine. What does it do? Spits out lava.
Yeah. We're going to find out what it does.
It's really cool. It's
And-
like it almost looks like the center of Ironforge from World of Warcraft. But anyways, if you guys want to see it, you can see it
Sure.
on discord.gg /loreboys, and you have to be a Patreon sub, and we'll post those. Or you can just look up God Machine Indiana Jones game pixel art, and you
The
can find
game
it
is
that way.
is like for sale still. It's been like remastered and is available on modern hardware on GOG and Steam. It's like $6 Canadian if you want to play this.
Nice.
I don't like adventure games, but if it's your thing, looks fantastic.
Mhm.
So the God Machine, powered by Orichalcum, is what allegedly gave the kings of Atlantis their godlike abilities. Nurab Sol was hoping to use it to take over Sophia's body and use her body like to re-enter the world of the living.
Of course.
At some point, Indy and Sophia figure this out, and Indy takes the amulet, like takes it off her neck, and tosses it into one of the many streams of lava, destroying it and Nurab Sol in the process. So, foiled again, I guess, by lava.
Yeah.
Sure. My one weakness. Having the amulet in which I encased my soul thrown into a vat of lava.
So the Nazis were never particularly interested in bringing Nurab Sol back to life. Obviously, they already have their God King, and still had Orichalcum to spare. So powering up the God Machine, Hans Uberman stepped inside in an attempt to turn himself into God of the Reich. In the comic, he's actually wearing the amulet, but again, the two canons kind of diverge a little bit. His fate was the same as many Nazis within the Indiana Jones canon. He melted. Rather than normal melting, he first turned into a horrible horned mutant and then melted. So there's pictures of that from the comic.
There's a 6-pane comic, and I'll do the voice acting for this one.
Okay, yeah.
Please, yeah.
So there's 6
Right on set.
noises he makes, and you can picture me just melting. Okay.
Rolling.
Ah.
And action.
Ah. R. Rargan. Ngluff. Fallstuhl.
And cut.
Very
We got it.
Yeah. Melted.
Yeah.
Send the ants
Good take.
next. I'm ready.
Good take. All right, so we don't need to call Mickey Rooney. We're going to keep Jamie's take.
Yeah, Jamie, I can't believe you did that accent when you were doing those. Oh my god.
Yeah, can you do the Chinese now?
No.
Give me a little Indian. Could you stop it with the head bob, please? Come on.
Yeah. Indiana Jones. Yeah.
And yeah, God, if you're listening, it's me, Pete from the Lore Boys. We could really use a little bit of kind of Nazi melting energies right now in 2025, just in case, just in case you've got some to spare.
Hey, I mean, it might be controversial, but I like it when bad things happen to bad people. Okay.
Me
Mhm.
too, very
Yeah.
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't
W.
don't cancel
Call
us
me
or nothing.
crazy. Don't cancel me, libs. Okay. I don't like these.
So Sophia, thanks to Nurab Sal, knew this would happen. So 1600 years ago, that's got to be wrong. Sorry, that's 3500 years ago. I typo there. Nurab Sal was the last king of Atlantis, and an apprentice to the horned beings, who were visitors from the sky. There's another reference of them from the comics as well. With their help and orichalcum, the Atlanteans animated bronze golems and used them to build their incredible cities and structures. One day, however, without explanation, the horned beings vanished without a trace, and shortly thereafter, a volcanic eruption sank Atlantis into the Mediterranean. We've been talking about Kingdom of a Crystal Skull a lot, despite the fact we've probably seen, between the three of us, 20 seconds of the film. So, like, there we go. I won't be getting into UFOs within Indiana Jones lore right now. There might be enough for their own episode one day. And again, UFOs are a conspiracy that I do not buy into, but I think is harmless and fun. And I have not seen the film, and like whatever. UFOs in the Indiana Jones canon, at least between Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and the Fate of Atlantis, are not from outer space in a physical sense. They're described as being from like the space between spaces. So they're interdimensional UFOs that like pop into our reality, help us build Atlantis, maybe the pyramids in El Dorado, and then just blip out of existence. Just fuck off, basically. And confuse Flint Dibble about the dates of shipwrecks, thus discrediting him forever, which is righteous, I think.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, based, exactly. So yeah, that's where they're from. So having not played the game, I had some issues establishing whether or not this was before the sinking or not. But it just it did happen that the beings left. I don't know if they were helping them, like if they using an alien bubble or something to put around Atlantis while they were there. Don't know when this happened. It's been 3,000 years. Doesn't matter.
And we give you the gift of big plastic ball.
Yeah, exactly. The horned beings came into our dimension and gave us the gift of plastic in the ocean. Thank you.
Thank goodness.
Yeah,
Thank
God.
you.
And before that time, the world was plagued by giant turtles.
Yeah, exactly. And
Lore
their
Boys
unlocked
podcast.
sinuses.
We hate Nazis. Love plastic in the ocean, though.
Absolutely, yeah. Hate Nazis, hate turtles. I've always said it.
You got to take the good with the bad. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
So Nurab Sal built the God Machine with the technology Atlantis already had. Since they couldn't ask the horned beings to come back, maybe he could create a machine that could turn weak and like shitty Atlantean people into horned beings, essentially like onshoring Atlantean manufacturing from an alternate dimension.
Yeah.
Basically, he was just like, okay, well, like I don't know if like what we're gonna do after this, but they left us a bunch of magical gifts. We're gonna see what we can do here.
Naturally.
The machine that they ended up building was really more of like a minimum viable product, and it could mutate anybody using it, which is what obviously happened to Dr. Uberman.
Mhm.
But it would also very quickly destabilize their body to the point where they would turn into kind of like a horned monster, and then their DNA would just fall apart and they would just melt, basically.
Mm.
Multiple twisted skeletons are still present in the chamber of the God Machine when the Nazis and Indiana Jones and Sophia are there. So back with Indy, after Dr. Uberman melted, Klaus Kerner told Indiana Jones to enter the machine. Indy, rightly, argued like, if it works this time and I get godlike powers, I'm gonna kill all the Nazis. So I shouldn't be the next guy in the machine. And Dr. Kerner was just like, fair enough. So Mr. Smooth gets into the machine and he's just like, I mean, that's a great argument, honestly.
Yeah. Like, what's your end game here, right?
Yeah.
Like, you really want to risk it, or
Yeah.
it's not a good gamble.
Exactly.
Jamie, that's a bad gamble. When you go to Vegas next week, That's not a good one. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm putting all
If
my money
anyone,
on God Machine.
Yeah.
Oh, Nazi goo. Sorry. And it's like,
Right, yep. Pass me all your chips and step into the furnace, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
dang. So, Mr. Smooth.
9,999,999,999,999 days since last jackpot.
Well, I mean, I'll take those odds. It's
It's
bound
bound
to
to come
happen.
up.
Yeah. So Kerner, Mr. Smooth, gets into the God Machine. Briefly, he felt a surge of godlike energy and started growing larger and larger and stronger and more confident. He stated that Bavarian upstart Hitler would kiss his feet.
Hell yeah.
But naturally, he also melted, as all good Nazis do. So there's another series of comic panels here where you can see Mr. Smooth, Klaus Kerner, melting, threatening Hitler, and then just dissolving, basically.
Yeah. Only good Nazi's a melted Nazi.
Exactly.
Mhm.
That is the official position of the Lore Boys podcast.
Yeah. Nazi punks
That and
melt
fuck
off.
turtles.
And fuck turtle.
Fuck turtles.
Uberman's body from earlier had somehow just kind of recoalesced and turned into pure energy. It detonated and reawakened the volcano and then sunk Atlantis even deeper into the Earth's crust.
Yeah.
So now it's very much like until someone builds an ancient Atlantis, basically.
Yeah.
It just
Oh no, it sank into Ocean 2.
yeah, exactly. Indy and Sophia obviously escaped together and went on to be in forgettable films. So that has been Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. I would have fucking loved this game back when I was a kid because there was a lot of adventure games like that were just like pre-installed on school computers, but I'm no good at them. But yeah, seems pretty cool. So I've been your host, Peter O'Donohue. You can find me at Loreboys Podcast on Instagram. You can find a preview of my comic, patreon.com/theloreboys. Check it out. Let me know. And that's it from me. So thank you everybody for listening. Fill out the survey. And fellas, what's up?
Jamie, you want to talk about Twitch?
Yeah, Loreboy James on Twitch. It's been a year. We've been streaming for a year, so we got some people who have a whole year of subscriptions. Looking at you, Honest Dawn. So come join me. Come be part of the second year of streaming. We stream every Tuesday. I'm gonna have a little hiatus at the end of Feb, early March, because I have to step into a God Furnace and see what happens.
Mhm.
But come hang out every Tuesday. Loreboy James on Twitch.
Yeah, if you like the show and want to support us, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/theloreboys. There's a link in the description below, but it's patreon.com/theloreboys if you're interested in helping us out with a little bit of scratch. If you like this episode and you want more of it, consider joining the Discord, discord.gg/loreboys. Also a link in the description to it. And let us know. Come chat with us. We're always around, and you can ping us. You're allowed, only you, dear listener. None of those other freaks, just you are allowed to ping us. So go ahead.
We were talking to people during the episode actually here. The loser game title was going on for last week's episode, and Fragile won it, and we're having a little yap. So yeah, that could be you.
Fragile. I mean, it's the start of 2025, and Fragile is off to a roaring lead here. So we need some people to step up to the plate, join the Patreon, and beat Fragile in the loser title game. And of course, if you don't trust Patreon, we offer a service which we have always offered, Lore Boys Prime, where you can send us your most made up historical fact, and we will judge it. We will rate it, and we're planning on eventually one day making it to the Joe Rogan podcast to convince him that a bunch of dumb bullshit that you sent in is true. I promise you. If I ever got on the Joe Rogan podcast and you sent me some quality meme fake historical stuff, I would do my goddamn best to get Joe Rogan to believe it. I don't think it'd be that hard. I've never watched the show, but by all accounts, it wouldn't be that hard.
The hardest part is getting on in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, once you're on, you can say whatever you like.
I don't know. I've seen the quality of some of his guests, I guess. Again, I've never watched it, but I know some of the people who've been on. I don't think it's that hard.
All right, Ethan's challenge is he's gonna get on the Joe Rogan podcast
in
before
2025.
This podcast ends. Yeah.
Okay. I'll do it. I'll tell you what, because Pete's putting a 2025 on there, which I never said. But I'll do it before Pete gets his comic book out. Okay?
Oh no! Rogi's gonna be in the cold hard ground before that.
Valentine's Day on Friday, Pete. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
I think that would cost you a Lore Boys.
Lore Boys
out.